So yeah, it's springtime, and let's talk for a minute about this whole glorious detox business. If you followed my newsletters back in January, I said on a video then on my blog that in my experience, January is a rotten time to try and do detoxing. A lot of us do because of New Year, and we feel we want to undo the excesses of Christmas, but our bodies just aren't geared up to it. Now, on the other hand, is a brilliant time to start thinking about detoxing. And if you get kind of like self-help type emails into your email box, you might have noticed that the number of emails talking about detoxing and cleansing and all that kind of stuff, they seem to up again at this time of year because it's spring cleaning is in our minds. And one of the things I've noticed is how, for me, what's interesting is what's driving our interest in detoxing or cleansing. And often it's guilt. You know, it's a sense of shame that what I am doing with my life or what I'm eating or my habits are bad. And we get into this idea that, you know, there are these bad things that I like, whether it's chocolate or, you know, just chilling out, relaxing, not exercising is bad. And that therefore I need to kind of deny myself or punish myself in some way by doing a detox and by kind of cleansing my system of this bad stuff. And I'm going to deprive myself of pleasures, which is an interesting way of looking at it, because that makes us feel that it's all a kind of punishment for our sins. Whereas how about if we turned that round and said, you know, winter is a time when we're hanging on to stuff. We go in, we're looking inside, we're focusing deeply, reflecting on, you know, stuff that we may not have noticed before. It's like going into rooms that you haven't opened up for a while. In the winter, we kind of spend time in these places in a kind of, sometimes in a sleepy, foggy haze a bit, almost kind of like familiarising ourselves, or, you know, allowing ourselves to dream, or going into these kind of visionary places inside ourselves that are almost a bit like hibernation, as we kind of, we don't mentally consciously connect with what's going on, but we're just in these places of kind of mystical dreaming, or of new things being birthed inside of us that we don't even know, because it's a bit like your television being on standby, the little lights on, but there's no picture on the screen, nothing appears to be happening, but deep inside something is going on. And then spring comes, and it's like we have to go through a sorting out process. It's like when the sun comes out, you suddenly start noticing, don't you, your dirty windows and the cobwebs that weren't visible when the light was lower, when you had more darkness. As the light improves, we start noticing stuff, and we start getting a sort of flurry of wanting to clear out things that are rubbish, that are no longer useful to us, that are finished, that are no longer important, that are just getting in the way or cluttering things up. And we go through a natural process of sorting. This is good, I want to keep this, let me clean it up, let me polish it, let me put it in a prominent place. But these things, they need to go. They're just like empty, finished, mouldy, tatty, scruffy, outgrown, whatever it might be. I need to get rid of them. Let me just get rid, pass them on to somebody else who might want them, or just get rid of them. And so we go through this process of sorting out, bringing some things out prominently onto display. Some things come out, so it's like putting the telly on and deciding what channel to have on it. Some things become physically obvious, displayed, evident, and other things are to be got rid of. And that's a natural sorting process that needs to happen in our lives before we even talk about bodily cleansing. But my sense is it's the same with cleansing our bodies. You know, that if we just sit there and take an honest look at what we eat or drink in a day, there's a sense of, what are the things that I just kind of mindlessly stuff in my mouth, but they're not actually doing me any good? That actually, if I sit back afterwards and think about how I feel when I've eaten that, I feel heavy or sluggish or tired, or I've got a furry taste inside my mouth, I feel grotty, it makes me feel sick or bloated. What are the things I'm eating that don't seem to be doing me any good? Or what could I be drinking or eating? if I stopped and was really aware of what my body is asking for that would be nourishing it. So rather than denying myself a coffee or a few squares of chocolate, it's more like, how does it actually feel? If I really stop and engage with what's going on when I'm shoving that whole packet of biscuits in my mouth, maybe it's not making me feel great. Let me just stop and notice that. Okay, so if I take away the biscuits, what do I really want? It might be connection with a friend. It might be I need a hug. So when we take out, just like when you chuck out the junk in your house that makes space for you to bring to the forefront the beautiful objects, the important objects, the things you want to display, that you want to be a part of your home, in the same way in our lives, when we take out the junk, when we stop mindlessly stuffing ourselves full of stuff that's just kind of keeping us sedated and foggy and dull, if we make some space by letting go of that and beginning to cleanse ourselves a bit, we start to notice what it is we really want. It might be, I'm desperately longing for a new challenge, or I want to travel, I'm looking for some adventure, or I'm lonely, I need some new friends, or I just want to have a change of scene, or whatever it might be. Very often, as we feed ourselves with junk, we're sedating ourselves so we don't notice these things. And then we do begin to notice them, and we begin to wake up and realise what we're actually wanting. And to me, that's what cleansing is all about. Tapping into what we really want, what we really need, so we can actually have it, so that our lives can feel exciting, fulfilling, like an adventure, and deeply satisfying. And that is a bit scary, but it's also really, really worthwhile. So if you're thinking of doing a cleanse this spring, I'm not saying don't do it. I think it's a brilliant idea. But if you are doing a cleanse, do it mindfully, do it with awareness, and see what it brings up for you about what it is you really want in your life to feel satisfied. Happy spring.